What's going on, guys? Welcome to Conversations with Heath and Tracy, where we meet here every Saturday at 11 a.m. EST to demystify your relocation to the DMV. So ask us anything.
If you have any questions, just type it in all caps during our show. We gotta move back or something.
It's okay, baby.
We couldn't get the camera quite right today.
It's all right,
guys.
baby. It's a new camera.
It is, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
We're getting there, guys. We're getting there. So if you have any questions, just type it in all caps in the comments with a Q at the beginning, and then we'll know we're gonna answer your question. So we're still asking it. You can ask us anything. So here we go.
If you're thinking about moving to the DMV, we want to help.
So today we're discussing Silver Spring, Maryland.
Silver Spring.
What happened in the DMV?
What happened?
What's really going on? Okay, so we are going to talk about that today. We usually will try to keep it on a positive vibe.
Yep.
But I think we need to talk about it.
Yeah, we'll touch on it.
We need to talk about it. And then last but not least, we're going to talk about setting your mindset around your fears of moving from where you are. Okay? So, if
this is your first time here, I'm Heath.
And I'm Tracy.
We're parents, podcasters, and joyfully married after 30 years.
Has it been 30?
30 years.
Ooh.
Hey, so if you want some positivity and an upbeat vibe in your Saturday, join us here every Saturday, 11 a.m.
11 a.m. Eastern.
As we talk about life in the DMV.
So if you need help relocating to the DMV, subscribe and join us every Saturday. We'll post it throughout the week too, but join us and subscribe. Don't forget, hit the subscribe button and then notifications to remind you when we go live.
And definitely, if you're new here, we want to know, we want to meet you. So type new you down in the comments so we can make sure that we get to talk to you and meet you. So we are here, Heath and Tracy. And we're back.
Little technical issue there.
Conversations with Heath and Tracy. Let's get into it.
All right. So,
what are we talking about this week?
Silver Spring. You go ahead and run through it.
Silver Spring, Maryland. Hey, Silver Spring is right along the northern border of Washington, D.C. So, it sits right at the border. It really feels like an extension of D.C., right? And so it's a gem of a city. Has all the entertainment and arts and all the kind of cool stuff you'd expect to find with a major city without all of the congestion and issues that usually go along with big city living, right? So Silver Spring neighborhoods feel more like suburbs of Washington. The streets are very quiet. There's plenty of space. It sits at the southern border of Montgomery County, but it's only 6.2 miles from the heart of Washington, D.C., and often feels like I said, an extension of the nation's capital.
So yeah, we like Silver Spring. We didn't really look at Silver Spring when we moved here because it was a little far from what we wanted to do. But I remember when we lived here the first time, it's super convenient to live there. It's really, especially the downtown area, is really vibrant and bright. And as you move away from downtown, it kind of feels like Old South, you know what I'm saying? It's very cool like that.
We were always in Silver Spring too, like driving around, running errands, coming back and forth from Howard University's campus.
Yeah.
And so Silver Spring was just like a normal part of our day.
Yeah, Silver Spring has a little bit of everything for everyone. It's super diverse. And let me see here. So if you want to buy a home there, so the housing prices range. As you can see, you get a little townhome for about $260. A really nice home for about $700, and then a cute little condo for about $171. So as you can see here, it's pretty good as far as being able to
offer something for everybody.
Yeah, offering something, and then for renting, it's about you're going to pay over $1,000 a month. Just understand that it's so close to the city.
Mm-hmm.
So you are going to pay more than $1,000 a month. And then, as you can see, depending upon what you're looking for, it can go as low as 1,200, as much as starting at 1,800.
Yep.
So, and that's for a studio. So
Mm-hmm.
just keep that in mind.
Yeah.
The job market. Let's see. Let's go to that one. The job market, current unemployment is about 3.3%,
Mm-hmm.
but that's still below the national average.
Right.
And as you can see, if you compare it to Arlington, which is where we live, it's higher.
Mm-hmm.
Future growth prospects for the entire region are really good. Silver Spring's a little bit lower than Virginia area. And that just the rest of that you can see. I'm not going to read the whole thing to you.
Yeah. So that range of home prices gives you a medium home cost of $463,000 in Silver Spring.
Wait. I'm not there yet.
Okay.
So a few things. So the income per capita is 33% higher. Remember, we told you, yeah, you're moving here, and yeah, it costs more,
Mm-hmm.
but you're going to get paid more if you move here.
Right.
Keep that in mind.
Right.
And I found this thing on. It says male median earnings
Mm-hmm.
are 41% higher than female median earnings. I put that on there just to give you insight into. People need to be educated. Women aren't getting paid like men are.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are a man in your family, understand that, and if you are a woman, understand that. We just need to have a better understanding of why this is. I know we have different jobs than most men do,
Mm-hmm.
but why do you pay us so much less? I had to say that.
Yeah.
Got in my little soapbox for a second.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see where that data came from and what that benchmark is.
The
But
job.
definitely, we all know that there still is
It's
a disparity
ridiculous. It's
in our
ridiculous.
country between men and women.
And then
That's
the top company in Silver Spring is Food and Drug Administration. And if you didn't
FDA.
know this,
Mm-hmm.
Discovery Channel and Discovery Inc., they're still there. I think they're moving to
Mhm.
different areas in the country, but they're still there in Silver Spring. Big, beautiful building.
Yep.
And then I'm going to just show you the crime slide that I found. Really cool. They asked people, how safe do you feel in this area? And people said pretty safe.
Mm-hmm.
There's some crime, but it doesn't impact me much. I think the crime that I looked up was like rummaging through your car, just like I told you about in Alexandria, little petty stuff like that. And then how reliable are the police? And then this is a very good answer. I think the police are very visible and very responsive. So I think that's good also.
Yeah, those are good things. Yeah.
Yeah, let's see. Now, I can't see the questions again. We might have to do something here, guys. Hold on one sec. Okay, so I can't see the questions again, babe.
It's all right, baby. Well, you check it out. Check it out on one of the other devices, and I'll just touch on some of these other data points.
Okay.
So, as Tracy mentioned, the unemployment rate in Silver Spring is 3.3%, whereas the national average is 3.7%. So, are really on par, below the national average. So that's a good thing, right? That means that people in Silver Spring are doing their thing. They have jobs. They're working. So that means that you're going to have a little bit lower crime rate, right? Because people have what they need. The median home cost of Silver Spring is $463,000, right? So Tracy showed you that slide earlier that was showing sort of a range of home prices and home styles. So I think that makes a lot of sense for a lot of different people, right? So a cross section of people depending on where you are in your life, what you're looking for. I think you have the ability to get a condo or a townhome as well as a single family home, just depending on your price point and your goals. So I think that's really cool to know that there's a plethora of different styles of properties in the Silver Spring area.
Yeah.
And overall, as Tracy just showed you, the crime is pretty low, right? And so, hey, just be mindful. Make sure you lock your cars. Don't leave a bunch of stuff on the seat or that's visible. Those kinds of things. Be smart, and if you ever do need police, it's good to know that they're responsive, that they're there, that they're visible. So all good stuff as it relates to Silver Spring.
Yeah, we have friends that lived in Silver Spring. They owned a house there for years, and it's just really an easy place to live, especially if you are trying to go in and out of DC. Even if you're trying to get to Virginia, some parts of it, but for the most part, you want to think of it as just an extension of DC. IKEA is out there, right? Isn't that, or is College Park, which
Yeah.
isn't the same. Oh, University of Maryland isn't far
Mhm.
from Silver Spring if you want to go to Silver Spring.
Yep.
So, that's what Silver Spring is about.
It's good stuff. Good stuff
Yeah,
happening over
good
there.
stuff, good stuff.
Yeah.
And thank you for joining us today.
Welcome again.
So, are we going to talk about what happened in the DMV?
Well, let's touch on the craziness, right? And so I think that from the perspective of people who are wanting to know what it's like to live here, what it's like to live in the DMV, what it's like to live in Washington, D.C. proper, this was one of those weeks, right? I mean, it was with all the craziness, everything that was happening, all the talk of insurrection and people storming the Capitol. I mean, it was shock and amazement for all of us, I think. And so for us, we had to really kind of understand what was happening, understand the just what it was like to be at the Capitol, how it impacted people who were living in the area, and all of those things, right?
Yeah.
So for us, we had the curfew, so that was something, right? So maybe if you don't live here, you don't really understand what that vibe was like, right?
And that is a part of living in this area, because there are a lot of marches, a lot of protests, a lot of different groups that come to the area.
That's
to do
every day almost.
It's like every weekend almost. And it's just not a big deal,
Right.
but they did warn us. We did have, I will say this, we did have good systems in place and warnings about what was going on this weekend, unlike we did in the past. Usually it's just like a little announcement, on the news or a text or something. But for this particular weekend, it's like they knew. And they were like, stay out of downtown DC. And they even cordoned it off. So it was interesting to see how different some were prepared and how the Capitol was not prepared at all. And that might have been purposefully. But at the same time, I think it's interesting when you talk about and you live in this area. I was driving around yesterday and I felt weird. I just felt weird. Every time I saw someone that looked like the people that caused the insurrection, I was alerted. I felt like I needed to take their picture and, put it on my Twitter page. And my kids were like, no, Mom, don't do that. But I was like, why not? Why not? These people are literally walking among us. They're still here in the DMV and they are walking among us. They've made some arrests. There are about 40,000 people there. They expected 20,000.
Yeah.
But there are about 40,000 people there. And another thing I wanted to point out is a lot of people blame DC. You cannot blame
Incorrect.
DC.
Incorrect.
You cannot blame Maryland.
Yep.
And you cannot blame Virginia. Those three entities do not have jurisdiction over the federal buildings.
Right. It's a federal district.
It's a federal district. And the mayor of DC, right? The mayor of DC could only request anything.
Yeah.
DC requested the National Guard prior. It was refused.
Yeah. And they work in tandem with the federal agencies, right? And so there should be a good line of communication between them. But the DC government, the DC police do not take jurisdiction over the federal entities and the federal buildings.
So don't look at it as a failure of this area.
Yeah. Another thing I wanted to mention too, baby, was
Yeah,
that this whole scenario was very triggering for people of color, right? And so I think that was certainly another thing that was top of mind for so many people, and you could see the memes on social and all of those other things, right? And so I think that it should be noted that it was a triggering week for African American people and other people of color, because we've seen such different and dramatic differences in how people are treated when they look like us versus when they look like the insurrectionists.
It was blatant.
Yeah.
It was blatantly different.
So it was a triggering week.
And the funny thing about it is we don't play that in this area. If you look at the statistics, 80% of the people that live in Alexandria or Arlington voted for the person that's not currently occupying the Oval Office. Same thing with those close-in areas of Maryland. In DC, they voted like 97% for Biden Harris. So it was weird for all of us this week. It was, and like he said, it was triggering. And that's our light of persuasion, brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
Also, I saw a video yesterday. I was rolling. and I can't show it to you because it was just a little too much.
Not appropriate. Not appropriate
It's
for
not
our
appropriate
PG,
for our show.
our PG-13 audience.
But this, you can find it if you go on the internet.
Yeah.
This guy pulls into a DC neighborhood to park his car to go to his protest, his revolution with his Trump flag, and he promptly got back into his car and chose to park elsewhere.
Yeah, he got the verbal business.
He got the verbal business.
And so that was funny, because some people refer to the areas where the protests and insurrection was happening. Some people refer to that as Washington, and some people refer to the rest of the city as DC.
DC.
So it was like, yo,
he parked in DC.
No, you take that energy to DC, and you might have some different outcomes, some consequences and repercussions that you did not experience over in Washington. So we'll leave that right there.
We'll leave that right there. But and another thing I wanted to bring up was the media was saying, I think Anderson Cooper said they need to go back to the Olive Garden and the Holiday Inn or something. And that's not who was there.
Right.
I want you to know that's not who was there. I could tell by the clothing and by where they were staying. They stayed at the Grand Hyatt.
Oh, yeah.
They stayed at the W. They stayed at the JW Marriott.
Yeah.
They flew into DCA National Airport.
No doubt.
They rented cars. Okay. They own businesses. They are managers.
Yeah, I think there was it was very famous. A couple of people that were arrested and that were involved. One was the CEO from a small company in Chicago. And, he got caught out there, right? You on camera, right? You run around with tens of thousands of people with no mask on, and you got caught. And so he said it was the very worst decision that he'd ever made in his life. And there was a state senator, I think, from the state of West Virginia who was newly elected, who also got arrested, right? And so I think Tracy's point is, don't just think that these are just regular blue collar working people.
They are not. Those people were at work last week.
Right.
They were not able to take 3 days off and run around our city. And it made our city very uncomfortable. I literally told my kids, do not go to downtown DC. My daughter works in a building downtown. She had an escort. Once she parked her car, she had an escort to go into the office. That's ridiculous.
Right. That was actually the first thing that I thought when I saw what was happening. So I was working. I was heads down. I was grinding. And then one of my coworkers reached out to me and was like, "Hey, do you see what's going on right now in DC?" And other people were like, "Hey, you okay?" And and I was like, "What's happening?" And so I turned on the television, and I was like, "Okay, is everybody at home?" Right?
That's the first thing you think of.
Right, because I mean, there's 7 people that live in our house, and so that was my immediate reaction. Where I wanted to make sure that everybody was here and everybody was safe, which we were. So that was a good thing.
Yeah, my daughter works at the DC court, so she had to go. She doesn't go in right now, but she had to go in, and you got to go through checkpoints, and she had to have an escort into her building. So it's really changed our lives a little bit, but and it's cause for a little excitement. Even where we live, which is kind of on the outskirts of all that, it's still affected.
Yeah,
we were locked down just like DC was. Yeah. So keep that in mind when moving here. You will be told when
to deal with these kind of things.
Exactly,
right?
exactly.
So, and I think at the end of the day, it's all about your mindset, right? Which is, hey, you still have to take care of your business. You still have to do what you need to do to take care of your family, to take care of your work, your responsibilities. And so it requires certainly some emotional intelligence and just being cognizant of you live in or very close to a federal district.
So we talk about mindset. Let's talk about in our mindset minute. We talked about last week how we overcame, the steps that we took to move here.
Yeah.
We shared those steps. And let's see, to get to our dream situation.
Right.
So this week we share how you get over your fear of moving from where you are so that you can move here. So get a pen and paper and jot these down. These are really good. So the first thing is fear will show up every time you're growing or you're going where you dream of going.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You're going to be uncomfortable. Anytime you're growing, right, you're coming out of your comfort zone. It's not what you normally do, what you're normally accustomed to.
Right.
And so it's not, so don't see it as something you need to be fearful of, but see it as something that enables you to have a growth moment.
Right.
And
Right.
so this is sort of what we were talking about. So hopefully you get some value here.
So, just to give you an idea of that, our story of moving from Atlanta to North Carolina, it was during the recession, the last recession,
the Great Recession.
I don't know. We've had a few since then. We had 4 young children.
There was only one Great Recession.
Yeah, we had 4 young children. We had a daughter in middle school, a daughter getting ready to go to college. Money was tight. We weren't sure of what our new situation at work was going to be like.
Right.
And we had no friends in the state.
Yeah, we didn't.
And we got in a car. We drove up there really quickly and did a whirlwind weekend kind of thing. We got a friend to get our house for us. Online, basically.
Yep.
And Western Union money. This was a few years ago. But it was a lot of fear that we had.
Some uncomfort.
Yeah, it was uncomfortable. It was super uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But we were forced into it, I guess you could say. When you say we actually had no choice. So what we learned with that was we just kept moving. We just kept moving through it, and it turned out great for us.
Yeah.
So even if you're afraid, or even if you have some fears around it, it's about moving and continuing to move through it to get to that place that you need to get and feel good about it. The second thing is, everyone who's done anything unique and wonderful was probably absolutely terrified at some time, and still are.
Yeah, I mean that's such a great segue into that piece, Trey, because when we were real estate agents, Trace and I were both making our living full time in real estate, and we both now work in technology. So at one point there was a transition when we were going into that, right? And so we didn't really know what we were doing. We had no idea of what to expect. How to execute being a technologist. It was just like all foreign to us, right? It's a completely new language, completely new sales motions. We were learning all of these different things at a breakneck pace. And so, that can generate fear, that can generate uncomfort.
Yeah.
Right? And so the learning curve we had to deal with, we had to understand
real estate to technology? What are you doing?
So you're in training for a couple of weeks, and now you're on the phone and trying to articulate some type of complex technology to a customer who is probably much more technical than you are, and there's fear there, right? There's uncomfort, and you're trying to understand and figure out how to do it. And so what you have to do is you push through it.
Yep.
You bring the confidence, the experiences that you do have, translate those skill sets into how you're executing in that space. And if you're afraid, do it anyway.
Do it anyway.
Do it afraid. Do it scared. Just continue to do it. So that's a big lesson there.
And we're still afraid on our, when you're in technology, it's always changing. You're always learning some new solution. You're always learning something new.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my gosh, am I saying this right? Is that the right thing? And if a customer asks you something, you're like, okay, let me think about it. And you just have to learn how to deal with that fear and move through it.
Yeah.
So in conclusion, what are you thinking of doing or changing or saying in your life that causes your body to hum with fear at a mere thought of moving? Oh my gosh, I gotta pack. How much is it gonna cost? Where am I gonna live? Is so-and-so still going to like me?
It's so expensive.
Yeah, that's the big one. And what does this mean that you need to do now? And how, at the very least, this week or sometime soon, let's just get together and cuddle up. Take a deep breath.
And you got to jump.
Jump.
Take that leap.
Let's do this.
It's all faith.
Yeah, we love you.
Keep going.
We didn't get any questions, or we didn't see them. I'm so sorry. I'm still getting the hang of this technology. But we just want to say thank you. We're almost at 5,000 subscribers, guys. Isn't that great? We haven't been consistent. We're gonna get back to We're going to get back to Joyfully Married After on our podcast. It's going to start showing up. Listen out.
Listen out for the new season.
And don't forget.
Stay connected. Stay connected to God. Stay connected to your family. And stay connected to your spouse.
Or your significant other.
Hey, follow us on all of our social, right? So we're Heath Tracy on Instagram. Heath and Tracy everywhere else. So look out for us. We're out there.
Check you out.